I'm just hearing, let's talk about, oh yeah, it's not money at all, is it? It's, let's talk about sex, baby. Let's talk about you and me. Let's talk about all the good things and the bad things that may be. Let's talk about money. So, hey you guys, I'm MJ from All to Love. I've just done my live daily tarot reading for the Instagram fam. I'll probably pull a few cards for us, or I'll actually just do daily readings separately to continue to book readings with you guys, because like I'm absolutely loving them. You guys are reflecting back to me that the tarot is a great way to channel messages for y'all, and because it's so, I guess, easy, because the cards are like an assist for an intuitive, because I normally don't use props or anything, it's just pure intuition. So now the cards make it really quick, so I can kind of like, yeah, I can serve, I can like share more with you guys, which is obviously really, really exciting for me. And they're working. It's definitely working with all y'all. So today I wanted to talk about money. And the kind of the reason I want to talk about money, which I'll share with you, is I was just getting this funny little download, whether I was driving, or you know what you do, like driving and meditating, or like, you know, sitting within that spaced out space but loads of good thoughts, right? And I was having just this sort of multi-veiled awareness of like all the different people I've met in my life. I know, right? Let's talk about dollar bills. But noodle sesh with it, as in like deconstruct it as a reality concept, right? So yeah, what I find interesting about money is how everybody has like their own perspective around money, just like life, I guess. And also how everybody's right. Like, so it's like, well, see, you gotta have your blah, blah, blah. You gotta have your business, and then your side accounts, and like the savings, and the blah 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 blah. And like, for me, because I had those weird awakenings, I guess you could say, because in my soul I recognized the falsehood of the economy. There was always like a little bit in me that was like, fuck you, system. Like, fuck you in the money. Fuck you for enslaving people. Fuck you for deceiving people. I ain't gonna abide. So I've always been a little bit balls out. I'm not somebody who like ever had savings. I'm not somebody who ever had like, although this is why I can totally 100% honor the privilege piece. I did inherit money when I was 18 years old. And there's a bit of a story around that money, but I took that money and I fled to England. And it was gone within it was gone within a few months, probably, because I used it to travel. I used it to explore the world. I wasn't interested in buying stuff, or, you know, most people have been like, you should probably put that into stocks and bonds, and like, so it wasn't like. Also, this is also part of my weird transformational awareness around money and around transforming cycles. It's that I, way back when, before I started to manifest actually being able to like work and survive, economically speaking, because I could do something in alignment with my soul, I always had that kind of balls out perspective. I never let money kind of stand in my way, or corrupt me. And when, in different times where I've been in potentially financial intensity or strife, this is where I know for fact and truth that universe got your back, that you are the creator. It was like the times of my life where I was testing myself, testing my belief in the spirit, testing my belief in this deep divine knowing, were the times when I let myself bottom out. Oh yeah. And then this is what I find interesting about, oh hello, bonjour Gigi, bonjour Gigi, and bonjour Fifth World, and Divine Sight, and there was somebody else who said hi, but you're the first. Of course, chat, elfe, bonjour mon ami, mes amis, en plural. So yeah, like, seeing through that, but then quite early on as I set forth, but of course having many people try to tell me how I need to organize my finances, how I need to get with the real world. Yeah, how I and oh perfect elf. So like Shara. So like this is where it was. What do I have to change about it? Right. Like describing this in inner. Yeah, so everybody has their perspective around money and the protection, and because money really is that veil that is a disempowered creation aspect of our separation consciousness, i.e., of our unworthiness, i.e., the only reason that money even exists is because we fell so fucking far from grace that we needed to create this disempowered illusory thing to give us our fucking worth again, to make us feel like we were deserving of living here, of existing here. Now, I think we've been able to embody that. I think more and more of us are embodying the deservingness of our humanity, right? And yet we're still navigating that transition of having people completely invested in it. So Shah, so that about the change. Now this, again, I'm noodling into something quite specific that came up from within me, and this is again going around my past cycles with different people in business, different people in my personal life, the way people talk about money, the way I've interpreted what I believe is exchange, and then how money can be used to manipulate and power over vulnerable people, and then how people don't tap into their vulnerability because they don't need to, because they have enough to never have to fucking be vulnerable. Basically, they can always protect themselves in their little uh, bubble world or their little gated community or what have you, and then they never need to face that. Okay, so what I was noodling at was this weird sense from my own personal journey, having seen through the system, knowing that the entire economy was just energy, and that energy was being kind of corrupted and fucking veiled. And then we had all these ideas like you need to work really hard to get ahead in this world. And I'm like, yeah, but that's a lie, because look at the wealthiest people in the world. I'm pretty sure they're not working. They're just going on holiday and fucking siphoning energy from the masses. And you can't say it's about working hard, because now as time progresses, this is generational. So we have brothers and sisters of our generation, they haven't fucking had to work or struggle or suffer. And then I have friends who have fuck all. They don't have access to any of this shit. That's my issue, is that I'm not bothered by people's wealth or triggered. I'm triggered by people's lack of generosity in a world that is completely imbalanced and unfair, because the majority of people don't have the majority of the people don't even have fucking access to where the very few are going, see, isn't life fantastic? Manifest, yeah. And I'm like, well, yeah, sort of, but your like is not grounded here. It's all up just like frivolity and entitlement and privilege, and I just want to have fun. Like, I don't want to have to deal with those. And I'm like, yeah, but your ancestors stole from those people, or your and I don't, none of this conversation is about pointing fingers. This conversation is just about holding space for how we can interpret our historical context to make sense of where we are, and then to bring that into manifestation. Can I discuss more? A suffer is legally defined as to allow. Interesting. Maybe elaborate on that a way. People talk to me and try to tell me how to live. That way. I know, I'm like, I think I'm living just fine, thank you. Interesting, cool channel name. Hi, welcome. Nice to see you here. The word job also means suffer. Fancy that. It's like the word mortgage. Mortgage means death grip. So you can see how the banks have a death grip, have a death hold on people getting mortgages. That's why, and then you can imagine that people that can't truly afford, or they don't have the benevolence to actually own that home, women were given suffrage rights. That makes me think that's like the weirdest paradox of our empowerment. Wasn't our empowerment, our supposed suffragette movement was actually fucking more suffering for women. Oh, I know, we're gonna take care of the home, and then we're gonna also fucking force ourselves to work and fucking vote and try to have this voice from this radically oppressed place of being absolutely second class citizens and no fucking voices. But let's just suffer a little bit more so we can also take on an economic burden and let our fellas off the hook. You don't have to provide for me financially. Don't worry. I'm just gonna fucking wipe your ass, suck your dick, and make money so that I can finally fucking survive here. But don't worry, I'm also gonna look after you. Huh? No wonder. No wonder. You know? And I'm not, and this is from, yes, a female empathic point of view, but I'm right there with the guys who have also been used and abused by controlling and manipulative women. What? Because now we're rising into unity. There's a whole bunch of us who are just heart open, totally sensitive, and are going, what the fuck is going on here? Resonating with other empaths, going, oh my god, you get it. You fucking res with what I'm talking about, don't you? Yeah. And have you been totally fucking fucked by a bunch of people who lied to you? Like lied to your face? Yes. And you're like, oh my god. And like, and the reason we res, right, is because none of us have been like money hungry. Most of us who probably res with myself, maybe you did like a corporate job for like 2 months and nearly died, and so you knew you had to leave. Or maybe like some of my newer clients, maybe you worked in corporate gigs for 7 years and nearly died, and so now you're breaking free because the fucking depression and anxiety and the collective stew of depression is getting so bad to you that you're having to bounce and change your life. Enter MD. You want to change? Yay, let's do it together. It's one of those things where it's like, because I never really fit into the system, I'm like, guys, let's break free and let's encourage everyone to break free, because then that would be the sweetest reward. Crypto Mike, how's it going, my friend? And so obviously, as is the case, you guys are here and I'm just rambling on for England in my own flow. Money, letting go of the old program. Yeah, totally. And to me, letting go of the program is not living by the program. So I'm not living in service to the money. It's living in service to soul, living in service to heart, living in service to like, we are that embodied change and we will continue to support each other through it. Because even now I can feel that navigating, breaking free from emotion abuse, where there's still this like weird sort of parasitic energy, maybe groups of people like gossiping, like, who does she think she is? Oh, have you seen like, da, 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 da. And you can kind of feel that oppressive energy coming through. But I'm like, I'm like here, putting in more time here, investing more time into my online community and my online friendships. And that's what feels in alignment for me. So that's the direction I'm going to keep moving in. And ultimately I have more energy, so that's even better. Plus, yeah, show me the money. The tarot, the tarot offerings. Hi, Rochelle. You popped in there. The tarot offerings have navigated this very real sense of like, yeah, people desire that service, and it's a direct. I really love the cards. I just gotta say, I absolutely love the cards. Community is common unity. Right, which I feel is completely lost in our 3D systematic paradigm. It's like everyone's inside really lost, but then everyone's still, not everyone, that's obviously a false generalization, but people still in it, whether awakening or still completely closed. They're still in it, I guess. All I can say. I actually just emailed you. Oh my G, thank you. Yes. I'm so glad you popped up, because I've been meaning. I've actually mentioned you to a few people because I've been meaning to mention yes. But I need to talk to you about it, because I want to see if you just want to do like maybe a prototype for me, and then we can discuss. And I would just let you use the Alta Love logo for your line, and then I would put your line on my, and so direct people to your stuff, but there would just be an Alta Love piece, if that makes sense. And then at some point we'll discuss other anywho, sideline. matrix. Many people are awakening and then being shuffled back into the matrix. Yes, and yes, but that's not but. Yes, and that is why we're here. Are any of you guys feeling this still? It's been there for most of our lives, but it's coming in this more directed, like, a sense of urgency, but not panic. Not panic urgency, just this very, like, like, I feel it from some of you, and I feel it in myself of, we ain't going nowhere. The battle is won. The light gods are here. And the new world is being born as we speak. Because we're it. And we're still alive. So, Moflo loves. I've actually not really talked, I've not managed to kind of noodle into the stuff that I was getting about the money, but a lot of it is around, like, the manipulative patterns I've been in with people who twist it all around. And I know the truth of my path, that, like, I've never accumulated money. I've never had it as a driving force, although I know I was told to, but my heart wanted to die every time I tried to do that for other people, so I never was able to. Plus, in truth, there was this depth of knowing that it was all an illusion anyway, so I might as well just float through this reality and not hook in. And then hence me going more and more withdrawal, more and more into my introversion, to noodle all this stuff out and become the I guess the mystic or the sage or the whatever that this is, in service to the whole, sharing the collective insights. And, you know, let's talk about money. To me, is just the intriguing fact that everybody seems to know what is right and wrong about money. And people will often say things like, oh, it's not about the money, but it is about the money when we need money to survive here, right? Like, we need money to buy food and buy da-da-da-da-da. And then also how people have all these judgments of what's an acceptable amount of money and what is not an acceptable money. What's an acceptable way to make money? What's not acceptable? And, like, how people so easily, oh my God, there it is. So I had this massive download insight around so many of us who are kind of sniffing out some bullshit in so-called spiritual community, and why is it that in our system there's this holier than thou thing around, like, oh no, I'm a holy woman, I'm a spiritual woman, and therefore it's not about the money. And I'm like, it's interesting to me because I'm pretty sure the Vatican and the churches have been some of the wealthiest organizations ever, right? And yet, and I see it that it's acceptable. So, and how fucked is this? That I'm like, so we think, so it's okay for you to be an absolute fucking dickhead of a human being and make millions of pounds. We're like, well, they're a dick, so of course they're gonna be rich, right? Like Donald Trump, for example. Like, this guy is the fucking president of the United States, and he has accumulated huge amounts of financial wealth. And how has he done that? In noble and compassionate ways, most certainly, right? And yet our decency, our spiritual decency, and this is again in my past paradigm community of, like, who does she think she is to charge for her time? Who does she think she is to charge that much money for her spiritual awareness? And I'm like, because I know how valuable it is, and the people who resonate with me know how valuable it is. People who are still in their jealousy, resentment, and bound to the fucking system, they want to judge it, they want to put it down, right? She shouldn't be charging for her, she should, you know, how long I fucking did donation-based yoga classes, because I felt that I shouldn't be, you know, like, I'm a spiritual, like, da-da-da-da-da, if I make money, I'm bad, or money is evil, you know, but there again, it's okay for evil rich people to run the fucking world, where us peasant spiritual folk should shut down, listen, and be poor, you know? That's part of this title turn for me as well, as I'm like, bring it. Bring me the fucking money. I ain't scared of it no more. I don't care what any of you people judge. And this is what's wild. This is what's wild, right? It's that, it's like, the money that's just the resource of love. It's only just this little inner child in me coming back to this little inner child space of, like, you deserve the love that you share, though. Like, allow yourself to be supported by the love that you share. care about the mortgages. I don't care about possessing stuff. I don't care about trying to prove something to my parents or my family or my society about how special I fucking am because look, I manifested all this fucking money. I don't care. Exactly. Are all puppets anyway. So now I'm just like this tiny little bubble world that I've created for myself, and I don't give a shit what anybody thinks about it, but I'm just gonna keep loving it. And I'm just gonna keep loving it. I'm just gonna keep loving everybody in it. I'm just gonna keep loving myself, because I am the love that self is. And so it's like, let all that love come in, which includes the money, because the money needs to be shared among all of this loving movement. This movement isn't like a Trump fucking dialogue where it's about how big can I make my titties to prove how beautiful I am. That's like Trump. That's like the energy of the patriarchy, was this insecure, broken little boy just going around slamming down his fucking dick all over New York City just to prove himself to his daddy. Let's talk about money, guys. Or how about MJ goes off on a little feminist rage about the injustices of the fucking world? I cut the cords to the puppet master too, Elf, Shar. You guys, there's very clear, obvious ways to do the cord cutting stuff that Shar and I are talking about. I find personally some of that can be good to be done in groups. It's sort of invocation and then declaration. It can be from within. Sometimes speaking it can be more powerful. You can basically disentangle your soul contract, covert soul contract with banking system, government system, authority figure, church, state, any of those things. So that's what I did back in 2015 when I was completing an energy healing course. And ever since then, even though I've technically never had any like huge like money to do stuff, I don't even know how I've managed to do all the things that I've done because I've had no money to do it, but like somehow yeah. And that's how, to me, living in service is that every time I let myself bottom out financially, and I got to say, when I'm in that space, it's so real. Like, actually letting yourself be poor in a culture like ours is some of the deepest spiritual work I think that anyone could go through. And yet I see spiritual privilege circles talking about all this bullshit, but they've never had to suffer. And I don't wish suffering on people. I'm just aware of how gritty and deep and authentic and like how expansive this perspective is because I've allowed myself to feel the suffering. To exit the system, you have to undo everything you've done. Yeah. That's pretty much like my awareness as well. What was it? Cool Channel? That's been my awareness of, I've been through quite a few transformational cycles since my early awakenings, like 2 or 3 death cycles. And that is becoming apparent to me. Like when we go through a transformation, ultimately we die to old reality. And so like even up to recently, like just if I'm being legit straight with you guys, like I've been on a finance agreement with my car for like longer than that, like 6 years. And recently I somehow, like I lapsed on the payments, I stopped paying them, and my car's being taken away. And that finance, now that car is representative of like a phase of life. And everything connected to that phase is gone. And then even my closest inner circle, like, because I'm introverted, I only have like a small handful of besties. All of them have gone through transformation alongside me, hence why they're still reflecting. Versus other, which is representative of my old self, is gone right down to the car. And then like the last time I went through the cycle, it was the same. It was like car got taken at end of a relationship, no money left, like drifting through the void, just figuring out where I'm gonna end up. Like I moved cities, and then before that, same again. All of my clothes, my possessions, and then my family inheritance, gone. It all got washed out of my world. What do you mean by that? The car has a hypothecated debt obligation. Well, in fairness, I feel like that's why it's being taken, because the finance agreement was actually binding me to the debt obligation, right? And now, and I can feel it. It almost makes me want to cry. Now that it's being taken away, so the collections people are taking it away. And actually, as soon as I processed the initial shock of realizing I had to deal with that, because I wasn't even sure that I would have had enough money to buy myself a new car, and because of where I live, and because I'm driving to Portugal, I absolutely do need, right, it was binding a straw man, exactly. Legal fictions, exactly. So that was still, and I got to say, interestingly, that car finance agreement came before, so that binding obligation came before I did the sole revocation, the sole contract revocation ceremony, and one by one, it's like all of these things are being undone. All of these, and in truth, I can honestly say, you guys, one, I found a new car, which is actually a way better car than what I was driving, as in more powerful and better for my current life. Plus, I'm not having this monthly payout, which definitely serves me for where I'm headed. And the moment I, processed, I just felt this like relief, like I'm free. Hence what Cool Channel and I are talking about like, these are me kind of tying off the loose ends, or like signing off the details of that revocation, of me finally saying I'm done with that. Right now I'm suddenly thinking of other little attachments that will also be completed. A nice insight, Cool Channel name. Hey Rochelle, have I said hi? I'm pretty sure I've said hello already. But an ultimate cleanse, yeah. Oh, that makes me think, you say 12 years. I have definitely like a 6-year cycle for sure. Every 6 years, there's these certain patterns that get repeated, and then a lot of them are this sort of total cleansing, getting everything washed away. One door closes to open many more positive doors, pretty much. And the thing that I guess in my awareness, I've had this sense that also for many of us, the reason we've never gone for the money, or that we've allowed ourselves to be vulnerable when it comes to our finances, is to just be as a clear channel as possible, like to not be all wrapped up, especially because, like, again, the subtlety of energies that like for a lot of people, they talk in practicalities, and they don't realize that practicality is ultimately based in fear, because everybody has to be fucking practical because we live in a fucked up system. Nobody gets to just like be free and enjoy life because everyone's practical, and they're like, yeah, but that's just, you gotta be practical. And I'm like, yeah, why is everybody running around like tight arses being fucking practical? I'm like I'm like our ecosystem dying isn't a fucking practicality. Our polluting the ocean is basically, better be fucking practical. I'm like, practicality isn't gonna fucking short this shit out. Radical love and compassion and intelligence and logic based in intuition, that stuff. And that's another thing about my passion, and about my directness, and about my, ultimately, me feeling into my power at this point, is people feel that, and then they get scared of it, and then they try to control it. And at some point, you got to realize you're better off just not even, like, I don't feel as though, and nor would I honor or put focus there, but I don't, all things legal are fraud. It's true. Yeah, that's how, like, this is, any of us that have been swimming in the divine waters, we know this because of how we've manifested our lives. I have manifested some opportunities that if people knew, like, the behind the scenes where my divine path has been guiding me, and then how I ended up where I ended up, it's above the law. It's above insurance policies. It's above standardizing agents. And I talk about it a lot in yoga. I don't buy in. I don't buy in to the Yoga Alliance a standard. I don't buy into any of that because it's not fucking real. And then everyone buys into it, and then we all end up just cookie cutter fucking replicas of one another, not knowing who we are, thus offering nothing. And that's a bit extreme, and it's not true, because there's layers, and we all have purpose and function. That is for sure legitimate. However, often what I find in our common humanity is that you have this, is that we have a function, yes, but we recognize that the function is perpetual transformation and regenesis. The only reason I'm like weirdly radical in this life is that I've let myself perpetually change and grow and evolve, and not let myself, just because I fell in love once doesn't mean that's the guy forever and I'm meant to marry him and fall in love, and that me wanting more is a fucking sin, or me endeavoring my own fucking personal freedom is just like whatever. So yeah, the Yoga Alliance, I know, right? Like, what the fuck? Right. No, this is yoga. And then you have that where it's like, I've had people come to classes where like, wow, feels different, or I never did yoga like this, or I never, and I'm like, yeah, because I'm just an authentic human being moving you around. I'm not like a yoga teacher because I did a 4-week yoga teacher training class. And that you do, and I'm not trying to take the piss, but like, there is that, and I was probably that way back when in 2008 when I was doing my donation classes, because this is what I thought I was supposed to be as a yoga teacher, and then you go into this world, and then increasingly there's all these standardizing bodies, and like what's it called? It's something about professional development, and all these hoity-toity judges are elected. They are, Rachel. People in the alliance get to have their executive decision about like your acceptability, and yet I'm like, there's no way to fucking regulate that shit. Two, I'm like, some of the most qualified teachers I've ever met, I would not fucking go near them with a shit stick, right? Like, and I would say that most people, again, the reason we res is that we've been in these spiritual circles, and we've come across these people who are spouting the language or spouting the rhetoric, and then outside of the yoga class or outside of the Instagram post, they're shadow, but they're not doing that ownership of the shadow work. Hence, again, this empath community learning so much from people who are duplicitous, right? Thanks, Hesso. So right now, this is an opportunity for me to sit with something that I find quite uncomfortable. You're new to this channel. I'm really transparent and really open and really honest. And you're right. You're absolutely right. I don't need to use that cursey language. I do. I feel that a lot of the language I use is helping me to get a point across. I feel like I use language intuitively to soften some of the edges of this conversation. I appreciate that you think I'm a nice person. And I would also reflect back to you that it would be worth you sitting with, why does it bother you? Why do certain words bother you? What part of the programming for you is being triggered by the language, so that I'm acceptable here, but as soon as I say the F word or the S word or whatever word, that it's like, you're nice, but you're cussing, and so you're not actually valid to me or acceptable to me. And I'm just curious about, like, what does that make you feel? Or are you somebody just wanting to go around and telling everybody how wrong they are? Just like I've had many people, that I'm probably a decent human, but that I need to actually take hold of Jesus's hand and be forgiven by Jesus himself for me to be able to be a decent Christian human being. That stuff, this energy of this incredibly powerful divine matriarch comes up inside of me. Like, we are all the children of God. Idolizing Jesus does not serve humanity. idolizing a supposed white figurehead of a man who is no longer here present now with us, I don't feel that that serves us. I feel that the altar of God is in the human heart, and that us being able to feel our heart space in resonant connection with all there is, that is the Christ. That is the Christhood. So I don't think the guy we call Jesus would have been going around judging everybody for curse words. Maybe, yeah. Maybe that's why I need to sit with it more. Maybe I should just curve. I find it difficult though, and maybe that's a part of me that I'm still attached to. Maybe there's an ego attachment to the cursing, because there is that, and I'm gonna have to sit with it longer, right? Enough. Ah! Look at, I haven't seen any of the comments, and then I just look up. An officer might get frisky if he wants to court you. What is that? What is that comment? Vatican power. So you guys follow it, right? You guys get how corrupted it all is, and how also convoluted. Which is why it's nice to just have people who can feel the resonance and not like attack every word I say kind of thing. Because I don't, here's another element of my angling with all of this stuff, is that the 3D construct of reality has this sense of everybody knows and everybody has to achieve, and you have to know and have and be in order to be important or special or acquire things. And all of it is all just fucked up to me, because the whole construct is built out of enslavement, you know? Tree hugger, I appreciate that. Also, like, God wouldn't be offended by mere words. Exactly! It's one of those things of like, oh, the mere mortals. I'm like, I'm not really affected by the curse words, so why would God be? I'm like, God doesn't judge us. That's the whole point. It's us that is the judger. People that go to court don't know who they are. They're looking for the legal name, not you. Yeah, it's not what you say, it's how you say. Exactly. That's just what we know to be true, as far as even the what was it? The intention. Yeah. So this is what I talk about in the Fearless Life Guide as well. When we're tuned, when we're living intuition, it's that you're always in that feedback space, which means you feel people's intention, right? Hey, Julie! You feel people's energy. And that's where you go beyond words. There's an actual lesson in the book called Beyond Words, because that was my awareness of like, so if it's all energy, we're interpreting and translating energy. And the think therefore I am is again another aspect of the divide and conquer. It's like, I know what we can do to these humans to make them even less powerful. We'll divide them up, make them into these mental bodies, and then deny the emotional bodies. Let's just try to make them think that those things are really not part of them. And then the spiritual, the soul body, and then the physical apparatus, right? So it's like, yeah, this whole church state economy system, as it were, is literally a convoluted expression, a manifestation of our beingness being all split up, you know, like, i.e. boundaries, or not, they're not called boundaries in this world, borders and classes and genders, and, you know, everything's all cut up rather than like flow and harmony and like generosity. And I feel emotion in that regard, because I just sometimes like, ugh, do you guys ever feel like that when you're just like, how much praying has happened, or how much just like, please, for the love of God, like, let these humans awaken to their heart, you know? Let us stop living in denial of our feelings, for goodness sake, because our denied feelings are expressing this crazy world that's like, ah! And there's some of us on the fringes just secretly being like, God, please, guys, you feel your feelings. You're in denial, and it's fucking everything up. why I find words at moments useless. Totally. More and more of us, I reckon, are gonna get into that space. One, I can start to feel increasingly, I can nip something in the bud when my ideas are getting way out, and energetically it's like my body is or intuition is signaling like this isn't relevant anymore, right? And so it makes meetings and things like that pretty quick, because you can kind of nip and be like, is that it? Yeah, that's it. And not just like ideas. I'm like, this isn't relevant, you know? So, and then, yeah, I can also start to suss out when words are disconnected to truth or disconnected to feeling sense. And I can also usually feel when somebody's just literally like wrapping into their head and they're not connected head to heart at all, which again, sadly, is a lot of humanity. But part of the shifting phase that we're in the increasing waves is that people, the rise of anxiety and depression in the collective is all part of, I would say, the anticipation and the anticipation of the lids popping off into this greater awakening and mass shift. Because depression to me is the aspect of just how exhausted people are. And the anxiety to me is actually the conflict. So imagine living in perpetual conflict, you're going to get fucking exhausted, aren't you? You know, and everybody's exhausted because everybody's having to shame and deny the truth of who they are to try to fit into a fucking greedy ass system that doesn't serve nobody. And then we all have to go to work every day and pretend like everything is just fine, when at home it's not. In our homelands, it's not. Somebody the other day was like, oh, wicked, I really want to go to America, just, or where was he saying? He's like, oh yeah, California, like I so wanted to, and I'm like, see, isn't it interesting that media, that media perspective we have? And I've traveled a lot through the United States, and I know how awesome and beautiful lots of the cityscapes are, and I know how great a lot of the people are. At the same time, like, it's in fairness, it's Canadian and American. I can't say it so obviously, but there's also a lot of disparity and poverty and homelessness and things that you're not going to necessarily see on movies and in the news and stuff like that about like the economic state of the United States right now. E.T. wanted to phone home. I phone home regularly. Right here, connecting to my light mommy and daddy. They're just sitting there in the void. Loving me. And well, then they're also the aspect of the reflected Trinity self as well. Let me just have a little scroll through. Hey, nice to see some new peeps here. Cool channel name. Appreciate the input here. Bells, jingle bells. What's that about? Saved by the Bell or Elf? Thank you. That's a fantastic comment. Rather use my energies for more positive creativeness. That was actually in the Instagram tarot share today. Was it? Yeah, I think it was in the tarot thing, and it was all about, or maybe it was the reading I canceled. Anyway, yeah, it was like something about get over our like seriousness about life and just get creative. And the creativity is like Bell phone. Bell is a Canadian phone company, weirdly. I don't know what you guys are talking about anymore. It's different. Although I feel quite special because I just feel like I'm hanging out with my friends. And then I had that moment of you guys are just having chats, and then I'm Canadian living in America. Hi, Misha Mish. Fancy that. I'm Canadian living in the UK. The bell. The tone. The bass tones. Frequencies. me see, who's that comment? Mike, I believe the ones who talk about money make the least. Yeah, I'm somebody who's not concerned actually about making lots of money. I'm somebody who's concerned, I'm not sure where you're coming in from this conversation, but I'm somebody who would really love to see a revolution in the global economy system so that we're not functioning in a debt-based economy system. We're actually functioning from a resource-based economy, which means that the economy's function is solely to provide the basic needs and resources to the people of Earth. So I don't, this is, you know, I want to say this with just love and a little bit of grit. I don't give a shit about you people with money. I'm not here to make money. Like, I'm, if anything, and I'm not here to deny the importance of money for my existence. I'm not there yet. Maybe one day I'll just be this floating light being who has no need for food or water or the likes of money. But for now, I'm still a 3D reality human being endeavoring to vibrate herself into these higher realms of love and compassion so that one day the world that I'm seeing and living in isn't using money as a construct to enslave the humanity here. Instead, we have no need for money and we become aware and awake human beings that understand energy enough to have harmonious exchanges and to share. Because I don't want to live on a planet where I'm like, I have the apples, and then everybody dies because I took all the apples. I'm like, that's no fucking fun. You know? I want to live there too. This is what I mean. This is what I mean, like joking with somebody about me, like, should we just go and buy an island? Like, legit, I know this for truth as well. Like, this is happening. This is happening. Like, Sasha, there's someone else that I've had chats with who is a frequent of Ultra Love. Yeah, islands and boats and new earth energy of like, this is part of the death of the poopy talk. This is also part of the depth of our pain that we're in. It's like, I feel that some of the depth of depression and pain that a lot of the lightworker community has been traversing through is, and I know it's like weirdly paradoxical in our mind, but we're mourning the death. I can sail. Yes. Yes. So we have basically a whole collective of like starting our new world on the islands. Yeah, I forget where I was going to that. But yeah, okay, so we're gonna go, basically, somehow miraculously, we's all gonna get guided to land. We're gonna live in harmony, and we're just gonna have a new paradigm party all the time so that the rest of our brothers and sisters will be like, and then the light of our awareness will shine down upon them, and one by one, they'll be like, ah, I don't need to be a slave anymore. I can just go party with the... But we know that it's not just some superficial party like the 3D reality had us sort of blinded to. This is like a heart and soul avatar party at the fucking dying tree kind of thing, or whatever that tree is that they go to after the corp people like bulldozed their tree of life, and then they're like, whew, they have to like connect back to the earth and inspire a rebirth from the sacred tree. Or isn't there, you know, there's that other light tree that they go to, and then they have that whole transformation with the people. So that's like this life of exhilaration and sacredness and up level and high vibration requires depth. That's that's I guess part of the polarity I see in the 3D system. Yeah, it's all fun, but there's no fucking depth. So it's not actually fun when you're somebody who wants to go deeper. And then those are in our going deeper, we then accelerate greater expanse. We basically give offer to higher vibrations, just like my teachers offered it to me, right? Like, we all come across different people at different times that are like, those are our resonant connections. That's like magnetism. That's like falling in love, love at first sight. There's people we meet that we're meant to meet for a reason, and they magnetize to us because there's co-creative learning, energetic codes to be exchanged, right? Self-sustainability is legit the way. There are no forests on flat Earth. Wasn't that Avatar? Yeah, I thought you said that wasn't Avatar. I'm like, no, 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 that was definitely Avatar. The James Cameron movie, right? Oh, gosh. Look at all the love hot vibrashe juice floating around this channel, you guys. I just love you. No, God, no, Mike Hawk. But then that, Mike, so that kind of, that comment is making me think about how when I was in India on the ashram, that I realized that I'm like, oh, I guess maybe you don't have to like live on an ashram to live a spiritual life. Or I could say that that weren't my, learning the keys to life doesn't necessarily require, fuck, no. Just like, this is all to me that feeling of like, don't judge books by its covers, you know? Like, as in the 3D reality would have us think that we all have to fucking sell all of our material goods, wear a white robe, and meditate on a mountain, and that's the only way to be fucking spiritual, right? Or the keys to my life must be required through some divine divination master that can bestow me with the divine gift. Again, an illusion. Don't judge book by its cover. We are the one totality of life itself. So I am one with the Buddha and one with Nazi Germany, you know? I am one with Mother Teresa and one with you catch my drift, right? The keys are within, elf. That's it. This is a huge thing, and I see it more coming out of that feminine awareness as well. Spirituality has zero to do with your surroundings. Absolutely right, Mike Hawk. Genius insight. There, but then it sometimes don't get through to people. You know, we just don't have to get through to people. Go to ashrams in India. There's a form to it. That's what spirituality looks like. Anything that doesn't look like that is not spiritual, therefore should be shunned. Right? Yeah, right. It's all a decision. And true that, and it's always a decision in the here and now presence. Because any given moment, I don't know, will you guys be vulnerable and honest with me here, or is it just me? But like any given moment, I can pretty easily go into some negative stew because I got triggered, or I'm feeling a bit disgusting, and so like some person triggers resentment. Fuck that bitch, and then I catch myself and be like, oh. And then I'll be like, no, love, hot love, that person, love, come into me. I am one with them. They are one with me. I am blah, 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 blah. Because I had that resentment there, or that ego projection. And then I see it, and I see how painful and divisive. So then I'll cry for a bit, be like, it's okay, MJ. You didn't mean to judge that person. And then I'm forgiven. And I did that from within myself, from the glory of the kingdom that is the altar of God, which is my own heart. Mike, men are emotional as well, my friend. We don't need to open that can of worms. That's part of the programming, you see. The programming of our culture would say that men aren't emotional. Men and women are emotional. We as a being, one being here now, men and women are equally emotional and mental and spiritual and physical. We all have a physical body. We all have an energy body, emotion. We all have a mental body, and we all have a spiritual essence. According to who? Men are, see, this is part of the biggest fat fucking lie of the system, pardon my French, but like, literally, this is the plight. This is the whole purpose of this whole thing. We live in a system that half of our humanity can't fucking feel. Oh, Mike, we're moving into some territory that I'm just not gonna go into with you today, I'm afraid. Feel free to check out some other videos if this resonates with you, but strong men know when to cry, absolutely, Chris. And we all have fluctuation of feeling. I think if you center yourself in having just one feeling, you're essentially dead. and or in radical denial, or just going through a nice phase of plateau certainty, which I kind of want to go, yay, beautiful, love that. Love that. I Ooh, yeah, Mike, we're in a different energy flow here. This collective don't buy into that. My book very much lays it down that I believe that people feeling and breaking down and crying is actually a huge strength. That for a man to actually be vulnerable and feel is a much healthier man than someone who doesn't cry ever, for sure. And in fairness, when we tell men that they're weak for crying, that is a form of emotional abuse. Because what we're creating there is passive aggressive men who are living in absolute denial of even the first layer of their emotional trigger points. And then that emotion then gets pushed onto the women, and then you have women who are either medicating themselves because they have depression, or ending up in cycles of abuse in various other ways of their life because their counterpart are never owning the emotions they're feeling. Because what we have to understand as the human collective, part of this whole quantum leap is the fact that we're beginning to understand that it is the entirety of our beingness that is making up the projection. We can't live simply in our mind, reason, progress, logic, and live in denial of the emotional field. It's destroying us. That way of being is destroying us, clearly. So the only way for us to harmonize is for us to start to feel. Feel and think. Imagine that. And this is another thing that people would put me down. Oh, you're so emotional. And I'm like, I'm not just pure emotion. I'm actually in my emotional field, feeling and thinking and observing the thought form, and then in that field, discerning what thought serves and what thought does not. And then reprogramming my mind diligently to harmonize and be in love with self so that I can be in love with all. But that requires me to feel very deeply. And I'll tell you what, Mike, a woman like me or any humans on this path who are deeply feeling are probably not in resonance with those that have no feelings, right? Oh, Mike, I appreciate your I really appreciate what you're saying here, because this is this is like a huge piece for me, and I think that is the greatest lie in our world. I think the greatest lie in this world is the belief that one day we rise, transcend out of the body, or that we rise out of the emotional. I think we're so frightened of the emotional that we want to promise ourselves one day you're going to be able to never feel. That's death. That's not living in a body. Not having emotion is not living here. And as far as I'm aware, if I'm in union with the whole self, as long as there's pain and suffering on this planet, I am one with that pain and suffering. And so I'm going to feel it until I live in heaven on earth, until we can all look one another in the eye and say with truth in our heart, this world, we did it. It's heaven, it's bliss, it's peace, it's love, it's one. It's not. Then there's still healing to do. Then there's still emotion to feel. And so long as we're not feeling anything, I'd have to say then there's some denial happening. And or some hardcore egoic veil to make one think that one day you feel nothing at all and you've risen above all those people feeling stuff. Well, peace is an emotion though, Mike. Feeling peaceful is an emotion. I feel peaceful most of the time, my friend. Most people just interpret me as being either aggressive or loud or emotional. And I'm somebody who feels peaceful in her emotionals. I can still feel peace and allow sadness to be there. I can still feel joy and let peace be the bass tone. Feelings are feelings. Thinking you have no feeling is still a feeling. Right, divine sight, having peace is feeling your emotions and also being in balance with those feelings. Okay. So Mike, I feel like we're just having yeah, I don't feel, I feel like maybe there's a different wavelength or a different frequency of expression. This channel, my experience, the book I wrote is really all about emotion. So it might be that you're just too evolved for this conversation or this channel, that it doesn't resonate with you, because I am very much somebody who talks about emotion because I feel it's very important, because I feel most people live in denial of feeling their emotion, which is why we have all of these sort of issues in our world that continue to manifest, because nobody's allowed to feel their emotion. And in my personal direct experience, the only way that I was able to transform my life and the programming that this world gave me was to feel all my emotions very deeply, and I still do. And I'm at a point where, if I'm honest with you, I just love them and I don't want them to go away, and I don't want to run away from them, and I don't want to pretend like, and or you know what I would say to that? I don't want to get to some place where I don't feel anymore. I don't want to try to get to some mountaintop of this physical existence where I don't get to feel the fullness of my life. And I feel that it's my presence and it's actually my emotional vulnerability that lets people in and shows them that it's okay to be who they are. Where the world that we were all programmed by, the 3D matrix, wants us to all believe that our emotions are selfish and wrong and crazy, and you need to, you know, have less of those to be an important human being. And I'm not there with you in that regard. So there, I think that's all I have to say for that. I love you guys. I appreciate you being here. I know that I might come across as a really scary, emotional person, but this emotion is really all about finding greater love for a greater sense of self, rather than us buying into this delusion of humans are just stupid, you know, slaves. I just don't believe it. I believe that we are feeling sentient beings, and that even in my cosmic self, even in my highest aspect, I'm still a feeling sentient being that feels polarity, you know? There's clearly in this universe light and dark, you know? Cyber hugs to all! Again, wanting to flash you my boobs. I'm not sure why that shit's coming out, but hey, woo! I'm not gonna do that. You guys, I love you. Nighty night, nighty night. I just have so much love, hot vibrashe for you guys, and thank you so much for being here. Thank you for all of your love and support. Yeah, big group hug, big group hug. Have a beautiful, beautiful day. I love you guys. Bye.